As you may have noticed, we are in space. And this is actually a custom world I made. It's actually the first one I've ever done. First one with the first asteroid base I've ever made. Like years and years ago. This is old Quartermain work right here. It was meant to be kind of like a fuel, supply depot for ships in game and whatnot. Anyway, I didn't do anything with it, so it has since become my kind of shipyard where I build and experiment, and it has a lot of my own original stuff like the UFO and the Eyeball of Doom. Well, this is actually some vanilla stuff that I modified very heavily, and some workshop stuff that I modified also very heavily. This one is maybe 10% workshop. I have changed this thing so many times. I call it the Fat Kid because it's, chubby looking. And this is the Rambler. The Rambler has many roles. This one is for blowing things up, but the Rambler series is all made of heavy armor, so it's, you can really do anything with it except go down onto a planet. Because it's really, really heavy. But it's generally like a, long range exploration kind of ship, meant to be really tough. But anyway, yeah, so on this one here is me playing around with the new blocks, way not anywhere near done. It's supposed to be kind of like a, exploration-y kind of vessel. I'm going to put a big glass dome on here, and there's going to be plants and crap inside. All kinds of fun. Anyway, the purpose of this video is not to showcase all of my nifty ships. It is actually to be a tutorial. The first in a tutorial series for the beginning space engineer. And so for this one, let me show you inside this. This is fun. This is actually one of the funnest builds I've ever done. This is, I wanted to make a sphere, and as I was making the sphere, I had this hole, and I'm like, that's going to be my front window, and as I was making it, I was like, this looks like a giant eyeball. So I painted it up to look kind of like an eyeball. Couldn't get any veins in there, so it's not like true to whatever anatomical eyeball stuff, but yeah, I had a lot of fun on the inside, but that's not why we're here, so go away, eyeball. Okay. Anyway, the rest of the stuff I'm actively tweaking, so I'm not going to delete. Okay, so basically when you're building a ship, first you have to decide what you want to do with it, but we'll do that later. For now, let's just make something that goes, alright? So, we go to, ships need a thruster, right? But before ships need thrusters, they need power supply. Wait, do I have any reactors in here? I think I do. Reactor? Hello? Anyway, let's grab a reactor. And let's put it there. Reactor. Okay, so it needs power supply. And there's the power, and it's powered on. And it needs a way to make it turn. That's, absolute basic thing a ship needs. Something to make it go, something to give it power, something to make it turn, and a way to control it, right? So for the beginning space engineer, boom, look at us. We're in a ship, and we can control it. It is very light, and we can make it go. I want to zoom out for this part. See, there it goes, like a rocket. But we only have a go thruster. So to stop, we have to spin around. And yeah, I call that the monkey brakes. Okay, anyway, let's come back. So this is the most basic ship you can possibly have in Space Engineers. It is just an engine with a power supply and a control chair. Sorry, I'm just flipping around to get myself to stop moving. Okay. Anyway, I'm still drifting, obviously. So let's make us stop moving. Oh crap, before we... Okay, there. Let's take our super basic ship and make it a little bit less basic. Okay, so a little bit less basic version coming right up. Alright, so a basic version needs something to make it, or a less basic version needs something to make it stop. And something to control it laterally. And other way. Thank you. Up and down. Just like that. See? Now we can go and we can stop. Our go engine is much smaller than our stop engine, so it's going to take a second. Yeah, let's fix that. One rule of thumb that I like to do when I'm building ships is to, if I'm playing it safe, I will put more stop engines than go engines, right? Okay, so you go and you stop. Go and stop. And you can turn and you can go back the other direction and stop some more. The acceleration on something like this is ridiculous. I actually have a version way smaller than this that I use in game. It's basically a big thruster and maybe lateral thrusters, but essentially what you see here with an ore detector, and I use it to basically do high-speed scouting in, you know, asteroid areas like this, because scouting in the beginning of your game is going to be most of what you do in space, looking for materials, and it's handy to have something. Actually, I think I call it Zippy Scout. Yeah, see? This is it. The Zippy Scout. So yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's got an antenna, it's got an ore detector, and two reactors on it, because honestly one vanilla reactor is not enough to push all of this go power. So yeah, and most of the time I have to use the monkey brakes, and these other thrusters here are purely just to make it so that it can stand still. So anyway, all right, let's keep working with the Zippy Scout here. All right, so just for fun, let's take off that control chair and put a cockpit, right? Because we're moving this up a level. Moving up a level means life support systems. Okay, so what you need for life support is like the bare minimum is an O2 generator, and that is just so that an O2 generator is you don't have tanks, right? If you're just using an O2 generator, which you can totally do, you just need to make sure that your pilot compartment is plumbed in, and you need to make sure that it has ice. So let's drop some ice in here. As we're pointed at the O2H2 generator, we can select ice. This is all in the admin panel. You have to either be in a custom game or have admin privileges on the server to do this, just so you know. Spawn into container, and hopefully that worked. Yep, there it is. Okay, so this being a creative game, my you can see on the bottom left there, my life support systems don't run out, but if this were a normal game, as soon as I hopped in here, you'd see all of my hydrogen and my oxygen and my, you know, power get recharged, right? Because we now have a life support system. Very basic. Very basic. Okay, so let's say that we want to move it up a level and say, okay, but this thing will eventually run out of ice, and we don't want to have our life support system entirely based on what that thing is actively producing. So we're going to take some, do we have it here already? No, we don't. We're going to take some tanks. So we go to tank, and we have a hydrogen tank, and we have an oxygen tank, and these are just small, again, very basic hydrogen tank, oxygen tank, and Now, since we're in creative level, these automatically fill up on their own, whether or not I put ice in the thing. Oops. So, yeah, you can see it is filling up. Even though I have ice in here, that little amount of ice, it's probably enough to fill these. But they wouldn't be filling nearly this fast. This is the magic of creative mode. These things filling up that quickly. Okay, so with these, we have a buffer. We can fill them up, and even if we run out of ice, we will still, we'll still have a reserve, right? Now, where we're powered entirely, our propulsion is entirely on ion thrusters. These are electric, and in the game, if anything's touching, it is assumed that you have some kind of connection to it electrically. So, electric propulsion, such as atmospheric thrusters, like turbofans, real life turbofans. But yeah, just atmospheric thrusters and ion thrusters in space, they just need to be connected anywhere. You can even connect them through just a teeny tiny little, I'm not going to do it, like a little pillar out on the end of a stick. As long as it's connected, it'll have power and it'll be able to control things, which is good. Okay, so let's say we don't want to use these big guys ion anymore because ion's boring. We want to use hydrogen. Okay, so we're going to need a larger tank because hydrogen is expensive. Although they recently fixed it. Hydrogen used to be absolutely... Let's use one of the new ones. I'm going to keep it vanilla for this thing. But yeah, we'll use one of the fancy ones. Okay, so now we have a hydrogen tank. And we have... Get rid of these. Thruster. We have hydrogen thruster. Big one. Boom. So, now we have a big hydrogen thruster. And again, to have hydrogen, you need to have... to have a hydrogen thruster, you need to have hydrogen storage of some sort. Okay, so now we'll go back to, we need more than that. We need lateral thrust as well, right? So here's our other directions. And this is the handy thing about the large thrusters, even the small large thrusters, is that they have, come in closer, they have these ports on them so that if you don't mind the look, you could just slap lateral thrusters right on it. But that's only up, down, left, and right. You still need some way to stop, right? So, let's put... Get farther away now, that's 4. Okay, let me show you a trick. Let's say I want to build this thing so that anything I affect on this side affects this side as well. Basic engineer skill right here. Okay, so you pull out something you're gonna, put on a block of some sort, and you hit M, and then it'll highlight a plane, right? So it puts a square on the horizontal plane. But that's not the one we want, right? So we hit M again, and it offsets it just, okay, so it's the same plane, but it's down one so that you can do what they call symmetrical, so that the center line is in a seam between 2 blocks. And let me show you, let me show you the difference there. Okay, so this ship here, this is one that I modified. See how this has a block in the center? That is essentially asymmetrically built. Well, they don't really even call it asymmetrical. Anyway, it's got a block in the center so that the line, it's set up wrong. Let me set it up right. Okay, so the line goes right down the center, and whatever I attach to the side here, I aimed at this side, and boom, look at that, it's got one on both sides. Doesn't that look awesome? That looks great. Okay, now let's put the whole thing back. Okay, so alternatively, if I were to take the original version of this, because that's one that's modified, I just pointed at it with my hand, but you didn't see it. So if we, genius, we take the original version of it, yacht, and drop it. Now you can see how different it is. Okay, sorry about that. The game crashed. The unmodified version of this ship is like a clang fest. It likes to blow things up. But anyway, as you can see, this one down here, the center line is a block, right? This one up here, the center line is the space, the seam between two blocks. That's the difference between this one and this one. That's a better. So yeah, this is how you do it when you want to have a really sharp edge like this. If you don't care about the sharp edge, then you go like, hold on. Like this, with it in the middle. Like that. Okay. Where were we? Oh yes, we crashed. And so our fun little experimentation ship here is a few versions back. So let's do this stuff so we don't have to explode. Okay, so, yeah, hydrogen tank. And a big thruster. So you get to see me do it twice. Like Doug Jackson always says, we do it right because we do it twice. Alright. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna set up a center line symmetry on this thing. Okay, so all that means where that one had the red line going vertically through it and this one has the red line going horizontally, it just means that our build axis is turned 90 degrees. That means nothing, absolutely nothing, until you are setting this up. There. Okay, so I want the green one vertical, so I clicked it with my mouse, right mouse button, and then it's set up. Then we can just M until our block comes back, and then we're good to go. And then every time we go to place something, it'll show us, okay, we're symmetrical on that axis. Anyway, the build axis only matters if you're doing symmetry like this and you're just setting it up, or if you're setting up a projector. I'll show you that later. So, okay, let's get a couple of things going on here, because we have lots and lots of backward thrust. And it takes roughly 5 to 6 of these to equal one of these. The larger ones are actually more efficient, but they take up a lot of space. So there you go. Okay, now let's put a reactor back on here. Oops, reactor back on here. And way to turn. Okay, so let's put a oxygen tank in there too, because we're going for, the upgrade here. Boom. Okay, so this is a ship that is powered by hydrogen, or at least moved by hydrogen. We've got our hydrogen tank, and you will notice that I use the conveyor tubes to plumb everything up, because hydrogen can't just be slapped on there like the ion engines can, like electric-based propulsion can. See, if I tried to stick this, you can stick this on here, but on a place where it'll actually stick. But as you can see, it's not plumbed up to anything, so it's got no fire. No, that's how that works. And now you can hop in and go thrusting away. Yeah, it works. And we can turn, turn, and have all kinds of fun. I'm gonna crash into something. Yeehaw! Anyway, so yeah, that is a ship with you know, hydrogen and life support system, though, you know, not really one that you want to spend too much time in. It's not very comfy sitting in that cockpit. So no long distance trips in this one, right? For long distance trips, you want something a little bit bigger. This is supposed to be a basic tutorial, but yeah, and this is a basic ship. Even though this has all cool stuff in it, it's a basic ship. If we wanted to make this something a bit fancier, we could add like a survival kit to it, which would actually turn this into like an outpost ship where you can go and manufacture things to make a full base somewhere, right? That's really all it takes to turn just a basic ship into something you can use as, you know, a way to start a new base somewhere else on some planet or, you know, an asteroid like I've got here. It's funny because in the game, when you're selecting your start scenario, it has like easy, medium, hard, and it has everything on a planet as being easy and everything out in space being hard. Like to start in a space pod out in space, it says hard, but I disagree. I find starting off in space easiest because all you need is electricity, because they start you off in an ion, you know, propelled survival pod. Anyway, this is a very basic, undecorated inside of the Rambler. And you can see I've got a medical station where I can recharge myself, heal, all that stuff. I've got refineries with mods on them. This ship just happens to have a energy shields mod on it, so even if I were to crash into it, it wouldn't do any damage because this energy shield mod's pretty cool. It's got a jump drive, it's got reactors, and it's got, because it's so heavy, it has gyroscopes galore. Anyway, my whole thing here is just to show you more of what a bigger ship would have in it. You know, you might have processing capabilities. You'd have, you know, your oxygen storage, batteries everywhere. This is actually one that I'm working on, you know, kitting out the inside, so it's very basic and not finished. I can show you one that's a little bit more finished, but we'll do that in the next video or a subsequent video. Anyway, so here you go. This is that's how you build a very basic ship, from the most basic possible ship to something a little bit more, you know, roadworthy.